Welcome to all. My name is Dorothy McGuire, and I'm co-president of the League of Women Voters of Elmhurst, along with Jan Dorner. On behalf of the Downers Grove, Woodridge, Lisle, and Elmhurst local league chapters hosting this afternoon's event, I thank you for joining us for the DuPage County District 2 Candidate Forum. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization. We encourage the informed and active participation of citizens in government. The League works to increase understanding of the major public policy issues and influences public policy through education and advocacy. Our moderator this afternoon to start is Barb Lymans. She serves on the board of the League of Women Voters of Wheaton and resides outside District DuPage 2 in West Chicago. She also currently serves on the national planning team of National Institute for Civil Discourse and is working with the News Literacy Project to develop a national program on mis- and disinformation for adults. Barb also plans and coordinates the monthly Civic Awareness Series at Cantini Park, held in conjunction with the McCormick Foundation. As a retired civics and psychology teacher, she works closely with the teachers in the Wheaton service area to inspire and encourage students to engage in our democracy. We thank you all for coming.
Good afternoon. It's an honor for me to be moderating the Republican Candidate Forum for County Board District 2. Throughout the history, the League of Women Voters has been providing opportunities for candidates seeking public office to speak directly to voters through forums. It continues to be the policy of the League to hold forums for those candidates in contested races. All Republican candidates for County Board District 2 were invited to participate this afternoon, but Jennifer Ramus and Grant Duggan declined the invitation. Sean Noonan regretfully was not able to attend due to work obligations, and sadly we did not hear from Nicole Giannanini, who was scheduled to appear today. I would like to begin by reviewing some of the League's ground rules for candidate forums. All candidates attending today have signed and returned the ground rules by the deadline established in the invitation. These rules specify the format, time limits, and other rules related to the conduct of the forum. I will be responsible for enforcing these rules. The candidates will begin in alphabetical order with their opening statements. They will then alternate in order in which they will answer questions. And after the question portion of the forum, each candidate will be given an opportunity for a closing statement. Each candidate will be given 1 minute for their opening statement, 1 minute to respond to each question, and 1 minute to make a closing statement. The questions have been gathered from the sponsoring leagues, the public, and from the audience. A panel of experienced members of the League of Women Voters has reviewed the questions submitted and carefully screened the questions for appropriateness for the office and to avoid duplications for today's event. The format today is a candidate forum, not a debate forum. Candidates are expected to accurately represent the facts, and their responses reflect their own views and opinions. The League of Women Voters is not responsible for the accuracy of the statements made by the candidates. It is the responsibility of the public, news media, opposing candidates to fact-check statements made by candidates if necessary. The event today is being recorded. The League claims copyright ownership of any recording or transcript. The forum will be posted in its entirety on the host League websites, social media platforms, and the Illinois Voter Guide. Any use of the forum recording requires the express written approval of the League. Audio and video must be broadcast unedited and in its entirety, except by media reporting on events. Finally, I want to emphasize how grateful we are for the candidates who are not only willing to serve in office, but who agreed to be here this afternoon. So let us begin with opening statements. Candidate Kordick, you have 1 minute.
Thank you to the League for hosting this event. I'm a graduate of Elmhurst Public Schools, York High School, went on to the University of Illinois, received my bachelor's degree in accounting, passed the CPA exam, went on to the University of Illinois, College of Law. I'm a practicing attorney. After practicing for several firms, consciously chose to start my own practice in my hometown of Elmhurst, literally right across the street at 200 North York. I now practice at the corner of North Avenue and Addison in the cute little house that was built in the 1890s. When my kids were little, I was on the school board. I served on the Planning and Zoning Commission in Villa Park for over 10 years. I'm an active member of the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce, the Elmhurst Lions Club. I'm a past president. I'm a longtime lector reader at St. A's in Villa Park and now at Visitation in Elmhurst. I was the township clerk from 2005 to 2021 and chose not to run for re-election last year to run for higher office. I decided called to run for the county board on December 23rd. Literally in my backyard, there's a shooting at Oak Brook Shopping Center and a new DuPage County was where I needed to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Kordick?
My name is
Candidate
John
Simpson.
That's okay. That's okay.
No, I don't know. Sorry. Candidate Simpson.
My name is John Simpson. I'm a resident in Westmont. I graduated from Nazareth Academy in LaGrange Park, attended Bradley University, majored in criminal justice, poli-sci, sociology, went on to go to John Marshall Law School, came out early, and started my practice right away. Started my own business. There's something to be learned on setting your own curve and seeing the environmental and economic conditions when you do that. I graduated at a time when the 2008 crash occurred, so it may have given a unique perspective to many other graduates that came out at that time. I live in Westmont with my wife. We've got a daughter who is 3 going on 30 and a very needy canine. And on top of that, what made me decide to run is the overall involvement and partisanship that we see at every level of government. Unfortunately, the county level should be the one that is most cooperative. These are the issues that affect your 90% of day-to-day items, not the ones that are controlled at the federal legislation or level, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to serve.
Thank you, Candidate Simpson. The first question is going to be for you. Okay. The federal government defines housing as affordable when rent plus utilities are no more than 30% of the occupant's monthly income. In DuPage County, about 30% of households pay more than this toward housing and are cost burdened, which means they are making tough choices between spending their income on housing and on other essentials such as food, transportation, and health care. What role should the county play in addressing the discrepancy between the needs for affordable housing and the current supply?
I think the most impactful statement deals with the 30% item. If anyone's ever had an opportunity to visit San Francisco or New York, you more than understand that percentage makes up a far higher portion of your budget. The county's in a unique position because it is the most centralized location to address those needs. But when we talk about affordable housing, you cannot address that issue without directly talking about what is leading to the housing shortage as well. The affordability issue comes down to the fact that we are 5 million houses underbuilt for our population at a time when we have interest rates that are now increasing. It's a hard opportunity to open the door for affordability while so many other people are trying to build housing or obtain land in order for people to move into it. So if I can do this one better, how do we make it affordable without directly addressing the taxation and property taxation for which people can build housing, whether it's a large national home builder or a mom and pop home builder?
Thank you. Candidate Kordick?
Since 1983, as part of DuPage County's request for community development block grant funds, it is certified that it will affirmatively further fair housing. The county has a plan. I support the plan that is currently in existence. It was published in December of 2019. The DuPage Housing Authority, combined with the Hope Fair Housing organization, have been assisting with fair housing in DuPage County. In the 5 years of the study, between 2015 and 2019, there actually were very few complaints with regard to residents as purchases as opposed to renters. So DuPage County is doing a good job. I support the continued plan. In reality, right now there's not enough supply for not only fair housing, lower housing, but all housing. I have a family member who has put in 3 bids for a house, and he's gotten outbid every time. So give it some time. I think the marketplace will correct itself, and I do believe in the free market system for doing that.
Thank you. Candidate Kordick, DuPage County has recently expressed its opposition to a freight railway merger involving Canadian Pacific and Kansas City Southern, citing concerns about safety, traffic, and adequate infrastructure. If the merger proceeds, what concessions from the aforementioned companies would you recommend to forestall potential problems in DuPage County?
Well, realistically, the merger is going to happen. If you look at the map of what distance that railroad covers, it covers all of Canada and a great part of the United States. So it's going to happen, so we just have to address it what is best for DuPage County. I would suggest perhaps cooperation with the railroad. Let's eliminate grade crossings, use the railroad's funds to build bridges that increases safety, that decreases traffic, and perhaps this will be an opportunity to get funds from other governmental entities to improve transportation and bridges, sparing DuPage County taxpayers some of their own money.
Thank you. Candidate Simpson.
Well, it's important to note that the Federal Railroad Authority is the leading governing body when it comes to railroads. In Illinois, when it's within our state, that would fall to the Illinois Commerce Commission. The job of the ICC is to primarily address safety at railroad crossings. So we're worried about making sure the lights turn on to warn motorists or pedestrians not to walk on the railway. Most of that money comes from the gas tax at a statewide level. It's also important to note, if you've ever dealt with a stopped freight train, it's incredibly frustrating. If you have an important engagement as well, you don't know when it's going to allow you to continue or not. We happen to be just a couple miles west of what used to be the largest railway system in the United States, the Proviso Rail Yard. So I think the first step is recognizing you have to work with your state level leaders, especially at the ICC, and to address safety most importantly, as well as the horn whistling. I think everyone could agree at midnight we shouldn't have bells and whistles going off for 10 continued seconds. I think that's important.
Thank you. Candidate Simpson, we'll start this question with you. DuPage County received more than $161 million in federal funds through the Coronavirus Act Relief and Economic Security Act, CARES Act. DuPage County established a local government COVID-19 reimbursement program to provide some federal funds for DuPage cities, towns, and villages, recognizing the increased expenses local governments incurred as they provided services during the pandemic. What financial and other support relative to COVID-19 is still needed for residents of DuPage County?
Sure. To tackle this, the first question would come down to whether or not businesses, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Restaurants are still suffering. They are seeing it in their labor shortages. We are seeing supply chain shortages. We are seeing truck driver shortages. And if you wore something here today, you came to you on a truck. There are shortages that are impacting us at every level. The issue comes down to who is still struggling as a result of this pandemic. Unfortunately, there simply are not enough funds. So what we need to make a priority on in the county is who can we help who will also be able to help the next person when they get back to normal. If we know we don't have enough funds, if you're looking to save someone that's on a ship, you want to take the most able people to help you to save more. You want to do whatever you can to help lift everyone up, and I think you need to evaluate who needs the help the most from an economic standard. It does no good to pick and choose and watch us all drown.
Thank you. Candidate Kordick.
I'm hoping that the worst of COVID is over, but we're going to have to live with it. That's just the reality. So we need to let businesses get back to doing their businesses, generating income from the private system, not relying upon government to bail out every problem we have. And we have the resources in DuPage County to make sure that people are healthy and safe, and we need to not always rely upon county government, however, to do that.
Thank you. Candidate Kordick, this question will begin with you. Each year, the DuPage County Board provides a budget survey to DuPage County residents for input, feedback during the budget planning cycle, May through November each year. What recommendations do you have for increasing resident engagement on budget planning and input across DuPage County?
Surveys are great. Open public meetings, televising meetings live to give everyone an opportunity without having to be in some membership to be able to access that. Are examples, and I think that survey showed that one of the most important things to the citizens of DuPage County right now is funding law enforcement. I have to tell you that public safety will be my primary budget focus. I was called to run for this office when that incident happened in Oak Brook. That just magnified the need to make our citizens safe. We have excellent police sources here. We have an excellent sheriff's department, and we just need to keep DuPage County safe. You know, a lot of the crime is coming from Cook County. That's a statistical fact, and we just need to keep DuPage County safe.
Candidate Simpson.
Can I ask you to repeat? I don't mean to delay. Is there any chance you could repeat
sure.
that question?
Each year, the DuPage County Board provides a budget survey to DuPage County residents for input, feedback, during the budget planning cycle, May through November each year. What recommendations do you have for increasing resident engagement on budget planning and input across DuPage County?
Sure. So on the campaign, the most common question that I was asked by constituents so far is, what can you do to lower taxes? And I find that amusing because most of your property tax bill goes to schools. So I think the easiest way of engaging and understanding the budget process is starting at the simplest level, the local level, to understand how we fund the local school system, because that directly involves coordinating with supplemental levels of government. One item that's on the DuPage annual budget is they do a breakdown of where each dollar goes to, and the county level makes up less than 10 cents of the dollar. The entire budget for DuPage County is less than a dime per dollar. And I think that's the first step that we need to get to constituents to better understand what you pay overall on a property tax bill and what you pay in sales tax doesn't all come to DuPage County to be put in a slush fund spent however you'd like. So the first step would be to get that message out in a way that engages the public to better allocate to support the needs of our county.
Thank you. Candidate Simpson. Recently, the county board discussed the possibility of permitting the sale of marijuana in unincorporated areas of the county. What is your position on the placement of dispensaries on the border of local municipalities that rejected establishing dispensaries?
Unincorporated areas have this issue. And where I live in Westmont is alongside a boundary to Oak Brook as well. And there's a development that they're talking about, how to build it, and it will have impacts on that surrounding community. And there are two types of leadership that you can take when addressing a problem such as this. You can say, hey, this is our territory, stay in your lane, or you can look at it in the bigger picture and say, hey, this is going to have drastic effects on your area, and what can I do to maybe alleviate that or help this work together? I think the county needs to respect an area. Unfortunately, I'm struggling with how to implement that from a constitutional or legal standpoint. I do believe you have an area right here on North Avenue, right just south of the Odeum. There is one area that has a billboard that happens to be an unincorporated area where the rest of it is incorporated. That causes almost an issue of spot zoning, which I think needs to be addressed when doing it.
Thank you. Candidate Kordick, same question.
As a member of the Villa Park Planning and Zoning Commission for over a decade, what we did is when some adult uses and things like the marijuana uses came before our board, we said we can't prohibit you from having them, even though many of us would have wanted to, but we made them locate in an industrial area. We don't want those types of dispensaries by schools, in neighborhoods, so you can properly zone, and the DuPage County has a zoning commission, just like I served in Villa Park, and keep them away from schools, away from neighborhoods, and allowing them to run their businesses in a business area, an industrial area, but not in a neighborhood.
Thank you. Candidate Kordick, as of late 2021, opioid overdoses in DuPage County were up by 17%. As a member of the county board, what strategies would you suggest to combat this problem?
I know our coroner Jorgensen is well aware of that, has done great work in reducing that. And Sheriff Mendrick has shared that almost half of the people arrested in DuPage County have some type of alcohol or drug impairment. So we need to treat them. In DuPage County, the sheriff has an excellent program for rehabilitating people arrested because he finds that so many were under the influence when they were arrested. They need time to get over the influence, and DuPage County Sheriff's Department has done an excellent job in helping rehabilitate those offenders. He's got a tattoo removal system so they can go back to their community and not be identified by their gangs, work training, and so the county has done and will continue, I'm sure, to do a great job in reducing the opioid crisis.
Thank you. Candidate Simpson?
Unfortunately, this is a problem that has continued. It's been pervasive. It has not gotten better. And each county, each city has different struggles. Unfortunately, this is probably not the top priority in Cook County or Chicago. It's different in DuPage County. This is something that's urgent. It is something that needs to be addressed. When I was younger, I participated in a program. It was helped to get young kids, especially the young years in high school, involved in manual labor to understand the fruits of their labor, understand taxes, but most importantly, learn civic lessons. One of our field trips, we would always take a learning lesson on Fridays, and we would spend that Friday one time at a boot camp down in Juvenile Hall. And you got to see the impact of what happened to people who were sent to boot camp or had experienced substantial drug use. And it's different than reading it in a book or being in DARE than seeing it with your own eyes. And so I've always felt, including with DUIs and the Mothers Against Drunk Driving, the victim impact panel is usually the most important one. Maybe we should start considering following suit with what they do for alcohol.
Thank you. Candidate Simpson, following along on the same theme, would you support the Substance Abuse Treatment Center, known as Haymarket, proposed in Itasca? Why or why not?
This is a fantastically divided issue. We need substance abuse treatment. There's no question about it. We also need it to be accepted in the general area. Oftentimes in the public and our elected officials, it's not in my backyard. That's the biggest issue. We love the idea. We don't want it in our backyard. The problem becomes, where should it go? How do we address it? So I believe that the Haymarket organization does a good job at rehabilitating people and giving them opportunities to get off these substances and return them to productive members of society. But I think the most important portion of that, if we were to support it, is how to ensure there's no spill-off in crime or endangering those surrounding areas. And that is what I think is going to cause the most divide, but the issue that often gets left unaddressed when trying to approve those items.
Thank you. Candidate Kordek?
As I previously stated, Planning and Zoning Commission experience, that's something you can zone. You can make sure it's not located close to schools in areas that that are near residences. It's a very important resource to help people. I'm not for or against it in any particular location, but that's something that can be addressed through planning and zoning.
Next question. Candidate Kordek, we'll begin with you. What green environmental policies are important for DuPage County to pursue in addition to those currently in place?
Over 20 years ago, I was actually a volunteer municipal member on the DuPage County Recycling Committee. It was called the Solid Waste Committee, but it really dealt with garbage and recycling. We started the single stream recycling program where you can put your recyclables out for the garbage man to pick up. That wasn't the case 30 years ago. So we can continue to encourage, well, this is a perfect example. Instead of using plastic bottles, just use Lake Michigan water, and it saves a lot of waste on that. Encourage recycling at the county office and by encouraging citizens to also recycle.
Candidate Simpson.
When talking about green policies, you have to incentivize an individual to want to participate, and it works that much easier when it helps their pocketbooks. It's a balancing act, but to me, the most important one pertains to the home. How much power do you use? We've come a long way since I was in grade school, where it was the reduce, reuse, recycle. Solar was 50 years away. No one was going to be powered by it, and I see it on people's roofs. The technology has gotten better, and that was always the issue, was efficiency. And is it realistic? No one's got the yard or the space to be able to do it, but the technology is improving. And we should be talking about taking opportunities in a way to cut on energy consumption, because that most of the time is what has the largest impact on such issues. At the same time, we all breathe the same air, we all drink the same water. It's not a Republican or Democrat issue, or at least it should not ever be one. It's trying to find a way to make it work for everybody. There's clean water systems. We have an issue with prescription drugs and trying to make sure we don't dispose of them properly. Sorry.
Thank you. Candidate Simpson, next question. Moving forward, what is the biggest challenge DuPage County faces as Illinoisans recover from the pandemic? What solutions or strategies do you believe will be most effective in helping us achieve our new normal?
Recovery from the pandemic put a lot of anger, I think, in some people's minds. This has become a divisive issue over mask mandates and what to do and how to act and whether your business should have the right to be able to stay open or close. I think the largest issue on everyone's mind is public safety. And whether that's right or wrong, that's perception, sometimes what dedicates a lot of your time. In order to fully make our community work, we need to address the fact that public safety is an underlying issue dealing with economic security. When you have people who are not economically secure, or who feel the deck is stacked against them, or who feel that people play by different rules, you're going to have instances of crime. It's going to further drive it. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't make an individual responsible, but I am suggesting that we should hold everyone to the same standard, and that goes for, especially for our elected officials. In Illinois, seeing what has happened most, I think what constituents are looking for most is someone that they can lead and believe in and not have to worry what they're doing when you're not watching.
Candidate Kordick.
Biggest issue is going to be inflation. It already is. It's coming from Washington, and it's not only a county issue, it's a national issue. So how do we best protect DuPage County residents from inflation? Well, three things. One, good jobs. We want to encourage good business development to provide good jobs so people can live, work, and raise their families here. That allows for good schools. I'm a product of this community, and I had great opportunity education in Elmhurst Public Schools, and I want the next generation to have that same opportunity. And public safety, as I mentioned previously, and John did as well, is very important. Businesses are going to leave Chicago to come to DuPage County because they're safer, their products are safer, their employees are safer, and so the three of those combined would be the best solution to inflation.
Thank you. And this will be our last question. So, Candidate Kordick, what will you do to reach out to board members, both in and out of your party, to improve collaboration and reach solutions that are in the best interest of residents of DuPage County?
I have served on elected and appointed positions in nonpartisan capacities. I was on the school board. I was appointed originally. I was elected and re-elected. There's not Republicans and Democrats on the school board. I am confident that I established a good rapport with all sides and listened to all. It was never a partisan situation. When I served on the Planning and Zoning Commission, same thing. You're appointed to do what's best for your town. Nonpartisan, you don't run as a Republican or a Democrat. I've served on numerous citizens advisory committees. Again, nonpartisan, do what's best for your town, and I will take that same nonpartisan approach to my colleagues. You know, I'm in court. I have a case against someone who has the exact opposite view. We say our piece, we present our positions, but then after it's over, we're still colleagues, and I will be a colleague with all my fellow board members, whether they're Republican or Democrat.
Thank you. Candidate Simpson.
I've had an opportunity through my travels for educational institutions. I had an opportunity to work with a Republican congressman from Peoria. I grew up in a strong union household, families all law enforcement. I serve as a village prosecutor for a Cook County suburb as well. So when it comes to working with both sides of the aisles, I believe I'm in a unique position where I've actually had to do both, and I actually see the challenges that present from both policy issues. Most of the time, your political views are determined by how you were raised or where you were raised from, what issues hit you. I happen to grow up in a suburb in Cook County where the public school option was not a possibility for me, or at least my family didn't believe it, and now that I'm a bit older with a daughter, I feel the same way. And the viewpoint is, although we may have philosophical differences, no one is of the same mindset. Again, we all breathe the same air. We all want good schools. The issue is, how do we get there? Most of the time, it involves not doing a 30-second soundbite, stepping back and finding a way to work together, and it can be done.
Thank you. Candidate Simpson, we would like to begin our closing statements with you. You have 1 minute for a closing statement.
We were debating what should be said earlier. There are 6 people running in this particular race. You wouldn't know it based on the current attendance. And I guess I can't help but smile as I look at some friendly faces in the audience. I was a big fan of The West Wing while going to school. And there was always a quote in there that I thought was stuck out most, and it was, "Decisions are made by those who show up." The majority is not who elects your leaders. The majority who participate are the ones that elect your leaders. And I think that's most important when you're looking for someone. It's not just listening to what they say and what comes out of your mouth, but rather how they act, what they do. There's a saying I was always told, watch their feet, not their mouth. So in this instance, what I could tell you is this. I happen to be one of the more energetic candidates. I won't let you down, but I have all intents and purposes of listening to any side, and will give you endless time to try and tell me why you believe your position is right, and to convey that to the board.
Thank you. Candidate Kordick.
Thank you. This is a primary. And going on what I was saying about serving on nonpartisan, I was actually on the Planning and Zoning Commission in Villa Park. The village president knew I was leaving Villa Park to move, and she, who ran for congressman as a Democrat, asked me to come back and serve. So I've demonstrated not partisanship, bipartisanship. But this is a Republican primary. I am a Republican. I'm a proud Republican. I've been a precinct committeeman since 1994 and served as the chairman of the York Township Republicans. I bring 34 years of public service to the table. I'm Slovak. Slovaks don't like to spend money. I don't like to spend your tax dollars either. But public safety will be my #1 budget priority. I am pro-law enforcement. I am honored to have a letter of support from Sheriff Jim Mendrick, which you can see at my website, votekordick.com. I'm honored to be endorsed by the mayors of Elmhurst, Villa Park, Lombard, Oak Brook, prior Mayor Steve Morley, prior 3-term President of Villa Park, Ray Rupp Search. I respectfully suggest that no other candidate has the broad range of experience I have, and I humbly ask for your vote for DuPage County Board Member.
Thank you so much. I hope you'll all join me in thanking these candidates for being with us this afternoon. Our democracy thrives when all of us are engaged. Attending or watching a candidate forum is an excellent way to be empowered to join discussions on local issues and make your voice heard on Election Day. We hope that each and every one of you will vote and inspire your family, friends, and neighbors to do the same, so that all will express their preference on the direction and policy of the county board by voting for the candidates of their choice on June 28th. Information on how and when to vote can be found on IllinoisVoterGuide.org, your local League of Women Voters website, or your local County Election Commission website. Thank you so much.